Good evening. I'm really happy to have you here. My name is Daniel. I was a professional opera singer and beatboxer, and tonight we're going to be listening to an American Trilogy by Elvis Presley, performed by Dan Vasc. This was a donation request from Susan Southard, and I wanted to make sure that I got to it as soon as I could. I'm really excited to jump into this because I grew up with Elvis's music and a ton of classic rock music alongside classical music, and having listened to many of Dan's performances and covers already, there's no doubt in my mind that he's just gonna absolutely nail this out of the park. So I'm really excited to listen to it, and I hope you are as well. So without any further delay, let's just jump into it.
Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. Oh, I wish I was in Dixie, away, away.
Yeah.
In Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie.
Yeah.
For Dixieland, where I was born, early lorn one frosty morn. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland.
Yeah. Oh. Very nice.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. You know your daddy's bound to die. But
Oh my gosh.
trials, Lord, will soon be over.
what a touching tribute to his father. Oh my gosh. You just feel the depth and the impact that song not only means to him because it was his father's favorite tune, but just how he connects with the music and with his father, and that connection that they really shared through the music. And that was very touching. Moving outside of Dan's personal connection with the music and just talking about the music itself, lovely execution. His voice wasn't as full as it normally is when he does covers or performances. There was a lightness to it, a certain lyric quality that didn't really unleash all that we know Dan is capable of here, which isn't a bad thing by any means. His vibrato was so consistent, even in emotionally dense sections, or where the dynamic was very concentrated and very soft, but you know that there's still a very strong emotional depth within that concentrated light dynamic. And to know that he was still able to carry his vibrato so consistently, just to not have it have any bizarre fluctuations in it or stop and break at any point. It was so smooth, and his tapers were very gentle as well. And the flow of the piece was just exceptional. There was so much room to grow from the beginning, and it did. And he reeled it in when he needed to. He let it out when he needed to. But it wasn't everything that we know Dan is capable of. And I really don't think it needed to be, because this song felt so sentimental for him. And what I mean by not exploding everything out is we know that Dan is fully capable of incredible screams and belts, and he could have done that to accent the real blossomed sections of this piece, but instead I feel like there's an even stronger emotional core that could be expressed through music without him unleashing that belt or that scream, where when he does grow into the climax of the piece and it's not belted or screamed or whatever, but it's just powerful and well controlled, well sustained. At least in this particular instance, for me personally, I feel a stronger emotional connection with him because I know what he's capable of, and because he didn't utilize his incredible belt or his scream, but rather instead just had a strong foundational power in his dynamic growth, in his phrasing, in his execution. I think there's a real beauty in that. I really not only respect that choice, but really do love it. That was exceptional, honestly. An amazing cover of Elvis's tune here, and what more can I say? Let's just jump into the analysis so I can pick it apart a little bit more.
Oh, I wish I was.
I love right in the beginning where he starts with why. Like, let's listen to that again.
Oh, I wish I.
Oh, I. Starting off on an O actually serves as the springboard into I. Because I would start off on a glottal unless you started it with a silent H. And I think the O provides a very strong foundation to start the piece on without feeling too forced in an but it shouldn't feel as completely streamlined and smooth as you would starting it on a silent H of I, but not I, why, where that O just serves as that springboard to launch into the piece, and that's a really nice choice to start it with.
Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old towns there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland.
something I love about this is he utilizes his vibrato so well here, where in the middle of phrases he keeps straight tones on longer held notes and just gently applies his vibrato at the ends of musical phrases or cadences and just clips on the ending consonants at the very end of the note. And there's just an intrinsic flow to the piece that he absolutely adheres to. And there's an underlying strength to it, but superficially it's very benign. And you can just rest in this calm flow and know that there's a certain comfort in that because you are well supported by that underlying strength, by that emotional core that is very strong and powerful, but controlled. And I really appreciate that. And you can honestly pick that up just in these first 30 seconds.
Oh, I wish I was in Dixie, away, away.
So in this line here, I wish there was a little bit more dynamic contrast where when he says away twice, I wish the second away had a little bit more growth in terms of its volume of a crescendo and a decrescendo, or maybe slightly opening up that way to where and just holding on to that open A as you grow through it and then clipping the E on at the end, or just something to express that there's not just movement in the piece because the piece is moving, but actual movement in the vocal melodic line itself. Typically when you repeat words or phrases, you're repeating it for a reason. You're not just saying, I need to go for a run. 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 And each single repetition is, you feel the emotional impact it has each time you say it because it's sinking deeper and deeper into your psyche. Where if you just say, I need to go for a run, I need to go for a run, there's not as much of an emotional connection and depth to that. And the same is very true when you're repeating words in music. Even though you're executing it well and it sounds lovely, and I'm not saying that it doesn't here, just having a little bit more of that depth by modifying the repeated word or phrase it ever so slightly just to give it a little bit more of that depth, I think would be very beneficial in this instance. But that being said, it still sounds very lovely.
In Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie.
I love how he said die. Die. Die is a very difficult word to sing classically because it is a diphthong. It has the open ah and a closed e, die. So to have a nice mix in between that, because typically in classical music you would just hold the open ah, the open dark ah, and close it at the very tail end of the note. But this obviously isn't classical music. He should not adhere to that. He should not adhere to those rules if it doesn't fit the style, which in this case it absolutely doesn't. Just holding on to a good mix between them and just letting that mix flow into the upcoming phrase. Very well done. Let's listen to that again.
Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie.
Yeah. And his vibrato was so gentle and consistent. It didn't waver at all. It was just so consistent to the end of the phrase. And he tapered it out so beautifully. It's actually very difficult to control vibrato because vibrato requires a strong sense of support. And when you really reel in on those dynamics, making the dynamic itself, the volume, very soft, it's very difficult to still have a strong foundation and not increase the volume because of that strong foundation. So to actually have a soft dynamic and very strong support to maintain that breath, maintain that vibrato is pretty difficult stuff and requires a lot of practice, and he executes it very well here. Yeah, really nice.
For Dixieland, where I was born, early lawn, one frosty morn.
That felt very forward. Oh, where it's coming through the bridge of his nose to the center of his mask, which is exactly where you should place sound. One of the biggest problems I had when I was training in classical music was my sound would always get lost and lodged in the back of my throat, where originally I sounded like if I was singing the word mourn, more, instead of more, where the sound is more targeted and directed through the bridge of my nose instead of more. Having that direct sound, it doesn't model it by any means. Just having that very direct front energy just is very refreshing. It's very smooth and it just works so well. Like, let's listen to this again.
Land where I was born, early lorn one frosty morn. Look away, look away.
And he holds on to the E. Look away, instead of look away, look away. And that E vowel is just so bright, and it's like a sun shining down, which in terms of what this piece reflects, which is a tribute, doesn't just feel like a sun shining down. It feels like a heavenly light. And there's just something so beautiful about that, so majestic. It's incredible. It really is.
Oh, look away, look away, look away, Dixieland.
Holding on to that end there. Dixieland. And that end, it closes off the sound, but it doesn't stop the sound. It just closes it so it feels much more personal and close to your chest, and you just really feel that emotional tug because he closed the sound, but the sound didn't end, and you're just floating with him in that sound, in that closed sound, and it's just, such a tender moment.
Hey, Dixieland. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Instead of glory, 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 glory. Just his interpretation here. He's still in time, still in the meter, still in the tempo, and having a little bit more liberty expressing these glories. And I think that's the point of it. You know, this is an American trio of having these liberties, these freedoms, and for him to have these liberties in the way that he's phrasing these glories, instead of it being strictly in line of glory, glory, hallelujah. It's just so much more free, and he's playing around with the rhythms of the melodic line, but he's still in this tempo. He's still following the rules of the meter and just allowing a little bit more rest time in between notes, picking up on them very quickly, and just really filling out this musical section, and it feels so good. He's just even further emphasizing that heavenly light coming down through this open expression of his vocal melodic line here, and it's just so wonderful. And also just noting that the fact that he's looking up here and you can already see the water in his eyes, it further emphasizes the heavenly light beaming down on him, and it's very touching.
Ooh, yeah.
That's pretty tough. Ooh. And to have the breaks in his voice, not just ooh, but ooh, ooh. Like almost feeling like there's a glottal in it, but the sound is just still consistent. He does a very good job of breaking that note. And I feel like the point of breaking that note and just re-emphasizing it is exactly that. It's reinvigorating, recharging, re-emphasizing that hallelujah. And he does a very good job executing it. And it's just not something that I'm particularly accustomed to or used to hearing. So I'm not really sure how I personally feel about it at this time, but I do respect the choice as to what it reflects, what it means, and obviously in the still image, you can feel the impact as to what it means for Dan, and all power to him. Lovely execution of that.
Hallelujah. Glory, glory.
He did two different glories there. Glory, glory. This is a really great example of what I was trying to refer to earlier, where you have a glory and a glory, where there's a difference, there's a contrast, and to show that each one has its own value, its own weight, its own meaning, and that there's growth in that. Even though it's not necessarily we went from a mezzo piano to a mezzo forte, which is a growth, you can't say that choosing a different vowel is growth. There's a different meaning fueling it, and that's where the real value of the change, the contrast comes in. And the fact that he did provide that contrast shows that there is genuine thought and a different emotional core to each glory, and the way that he executes it, and showing that there is even more movement in the piece outside of the intrinsic movement of the piece, the intrinsic flow of the piece. The music is going to keep moving on, but because of his interpretation and because of these very minor changes in the vowel shape or the dynamic or the whatever, there's just that much more depth. And it's so nice.
Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Nice.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. So hush, little baby.
Oh, I just got chills there. So hush. Where it's just barely vocalized, where you get his voice, but when it falls into this whisper, it just sends chills down my spine. Because to me, what that reflects is, even though there's still strength in the performance, having it be barely vocalized and just fall into a whisper reflects a stumbling, if you will. A moment where, even though you still have the strength to keep moving forward, it doesn't mean that you don't have those hiccups in the road where a stone falls in front of your path and you fall over it, where your voice is vocalizing and then falls into a whisper. Even though it's obviously intentional and controlled here, that's what it reflects, is so hush. Oh, it's so poignant, and there's a certain element of catharsis that accompanies it. It's just profound.
So hush, little baby, don't you cry. You know your daddy's.
Instead of daddy, daddy. Where it still is that E vowel, but because his lips are just ever so slightly rounded, it creates a more round overtone. Not as bright, and because that brightness is ever so slightly dimmed, we can feel a little bit more of this underlying poignancy in this brightness. So the way that he rounded his lips there, even if the vowel itself didn't change, just the rounding of the lips provides an atmospheric subtext and provides a very strong point in the emotional narrative of this performance, and it's so powerful.
You know your daddy's bound to die, but oh, my trials, Lord, will soon be over.
this entire interlude here is just Dan, not necessarily sinking, but he's accessing his emotional core. And something that I deeply connect with him on is allowing yourself to fully feel an emotion, but not being completely consumed by it, not allowing your actions to reflect the emotions you feel in a particular moment, but rather understanding what it is you need to do, executing it with the integrity and emotions in your heart, but not necessarily using those emotions to charge your action. What he does is he allows himself to experience the incredible poignancy and catharsis that he must be feeling towards the recent loss of his father, and allows himself to feel everything and still executes the piece strongly. And he doesn't let that emotion interrupt his support, his breath, his resonance, his vocal cords, his execution, his vowel shapes. The emotion itself doesn't obstruct his performance in any category, but you still feel it. You see it on his face. You internalize those feelings in your body. And I think this is such a beautiful moment, because I, with my heart of hearts, believe that pain and suffering are necessary elements to living a human life, where if you love something ephemeral, such as another human being or an animal, let's say, then you accept the fact that you are going to feel grief for them when they die. But it's not something we typically like to reflect on, because we just want to enjoy them in the moment. But that's life. On one of my whiteboards here, I actually have a quote from Viktor Frankl, who not only was a psychologist, but a concentration camp survivor. And there's a quote here that I think is very apt for this moment, which I'm going to read, which is, "It was necessary to face up to the full amount of suffering, trying to keep moments of weakness and furtive tears to a minimum. But there was no need to be ashamed of tears, for tears bore witness that man had the greatest courage, the courage to suffer." And the idea that elements of pain strike us at our emotional core, which then allows us to take strong action. The idea that when we reach very low points in our lives, that's the time when, obviously, even though we're grieving, we still experience a certain level of unity with our pragmatic mind and our emotional heart, which ultimately tells us, what is it that I need to do so I don't experience the suffering again? Or what is it that I need to do in order to ensure that when pain inevitably comes in my life again, that I'm able to process it and handle it in a way that I know that I can be proud of, in a way that's manageable. And when you start recognizing that the world is not going to cater to you, the world is not going to cater to your community or your milieu or your particular philosophy on life. You can't control any outside elements or other people. As a matter of fact, there's pretty much nothing in this world that you're actually able to control. But there is something you can control. And it's not even you in your entirety, because our initial responses and reactions to things are intuitive and can be impulsive or instinctual. But what we can control is our actions. We can train our mind to adapt ourselves to certain situations that we might think might happen to us, or even if we don't think that something might happen to us, just training our mind to think, I know that I am capable of making myself happy even in the most vagarious and unfortunate of circumstances. Even if everything was ripped away from me, I know that I am capable of trusting myself, trusting my ethics, my principles, my morals, my values, in whatever those are and whatever they're based in, and saying that I know that I can depend on myself to make it out of this bad situation. You know, I've seen this take shape in a myriad of ways, whether it's I'm not strong enough to do this by myself, so I depend on a creator to assist me, or I genuinely feel like I've been through hell and back and am fully capable of handling any situation that life might throw at me, or anything in between or outside of those bounds. Whatever it is that you do to create a strong sense of independent strength that allows you to engage with life fully and authentically. You're not afraid of other people's opinions or criticisms because you have true, genuine value in yourself. That true, genuine inner strength that forces you to never submit to your lowest instincts, to never give in to despair and begin that self-perpetual spiral. To have the audacity, the temerity to go day in and day out, knowing you're hurting, knowing that you're experiencing discomfort, but still smiling, still having the temerity to smile through it, and to keep developing yourself. View those arduous times as opportunity for growth, to allow pain into your heart, to allow suffering into your heart, and instead of letting it completely destroy you, you use it as a way of generating calluses in your heart and your mind to become tougher, to become stronger. Add a little bit of ruggedness to your character, but still allowing yourself to fully feel and experience the world around you, recognizing that the world itself is a very dark and cruel place, but that doesn't mean that you need to contribute to the darkness. You are capable of developing yourself, working on yourself, making yourself be that beacon of light, not just for your own sense of happiness, but maybe for someone else who has fallen victim to maybe their own victim mindset or their own depressions, anxieties, and serving as a guidepost for people who have lost their way by using suffering as an opportunity of growth. And I think that's very well reflected in Dan's performance here, where he just does not let this incredible emotion, I'm assuming he had a wonderful rapport and relationship with his father. Otherwise, I don't believe he would be taking the time to really tribute him in this way and to experience all of these emotions, but observe them from a third party's perspective and just allow himself to feel the emotions and let them pass and not interrupt his action, which in this moment is his performance, his execution of the performance. But this can be applied towards any action in life. Incredible job here, Dan. I really feel for you, brother. His face twitches like mine does when I'm in this emotional state. He's a very relatable artist. Even though he's still able to execute it extremely well, you can feel and actually physically see the pain in his body, and that's being reflected through his body actually shaking as he's executing this final portion. It's so powerful. And just that passaggio work of oh my gosh, chills in this entire section, dude. Incredible. Dan, remarkable execution, brother. That was awesome and very profound, very poignant, very beautiful. A wonderful tribute to your father. Absolutely. Incredible stuff, man. Hats off to you. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If y'all liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you didn't like it, please leave a dislike and let me know why in the comments. I do read all of the comments, even if I may not heart or reply to all of them, so please know that your comments do not go unnoticed, and I do take them into consideration as I make future videos. I'm currently restructuring my Patreon because a lot of the videos ended up getting blocked or corrupted, and I just need to restructure it, and I'm sorry it's taking so long, but it is still a work in progress, and I will absolutely give you guys updates as to when it will officially launch, which shouldn't be too soon from now. My live streams are currently Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so if you guys would like to stop by and say hey or ask any questions about myself or the channel, I'd be more than happy to be there for you guys. There are some really exciting things in development, and please stay tuned towards the end of the videos, and I'll also put them in the description and comments in future videos. But some really interesting things are in development, and I'm really excited to share that with you once they're fully ready. I want to take this time to express my heartfelt gratitude for all of you being here watching these videos, and I deeply do appreciate it. So honestly, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see all of you in the next video. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.